So, PY, you mentioned who was Whitlam's deputy throughout the time. It was a guy called Jim Cairns. Now, basically, he'd actually challenged him for the leadership a little bit earlier, and he lost, and so he kind of took his spot as number 2 and never really spoke up again. He created a fair few issues for Gough Whitlam. For Cairns, there were 2. Number 1, there was a woman called Junie Morosi. Now, Cairns was a married man, and there's a woman called Junie Morosi who he hired as his personal secretary. Mm-hmm. Junie Morosi had no qualifications for being a secretary. I don't know what the qualifications actually would be, but the Labor Party was pretty angry that this woman got the job. And rumours started to swell that Jim Cairns has hired this woman because he is going to have an affair with her, or is having an affair with her, and she's being hired for her looks rather than any real qualification. So the Labor Party starts to get really angry with Jim Cairns. They continually ask Gough Whitlam, Junie Morosi, is this okay? How has this woman ended up as Jim Cairns' secretary? Whitlam's answer is it's Jim Cairns, like Jim Cairns can do whatever he wants to do with who he hires and who he doesn't. That's Jim Cairns' responsibility. And from all accounts of Whitlam, he seemed to be a pretty hands-off sort of manager. He let people do what they wanted to do. So that was the first issue that Jim Cairns created. The second one we'll get onto in just a second. But before we do that, there was a guy, he was called Rex Connor.
Oh, it's a good name, though.
Yeah,
Rexy.
His colloquial name was the Strangler.
Wow.
Which, I don't know if you really want today, but in like the 70s when like politics was really bullish, like it was an effective nickname. So Rex Connor, he was the Minister for Resources, and he had a vision for having Australia pretty much nationalise its minerals and its mines. Now, the issue is a lot of companies already have, a lot of them American, already have huge stakes in Australia's mines. And Rex Connor's argument is, hey, these foreign companies are taking our resources and selling it for a profit. Like, we're getting robbed of our resources. America's argument is, no, we're hiring your people and creating like economic conditions in your own country and helping your economy out. So Rex Connor, he has this vision for Labor nationalising the mines and taking control. If you're a communist country, it's very easy. You say, hey, we own this mine, we own your company. Mm-hmm. Now, in Australia, that's not going to go down. So Australia has to come up with the money, or the federal government has to come up with the money to actually buy these mines and buy these companies that have stakes in these mines. Follow me so far? Mm-hmm. So, why wouldn't you just print off money?
Well, it's
Inflation.
the age-old economic question, right? No one's ever answered it.
Yeah, that's my dad. My dad said because of inflation. Some people are like, yeah, we should. Quantitative easing. I don't really understand it. There's probably subscribers that understand it much better than me. And because we don't understand it very well, you can help us understand it by giving us $1.50 on Patreon to support all the work we have going on here. And you can print off money for us. But yeah, inflation, okay? So there's this huge issue where they're already in bad inflation. If we print off money to buy this, we're creating completely unstable economic conditions. Mm-hmm. So how do you get the money? We don't just tax people heaps more money. That's going to just give the Liberal Party heaps of ammo that you're commies. So they looked to get a loan from another country. Basically, it's pretty standard in geopolitics to take loans of cash from other countries, particularly in the third world where a lot of it's given as foreign aid. When it came to Rex Connor, he went and got connected with a guy called Tirath Khemlani. He was a Pakistani dude. Now, this is unconventional to go to an individual rather than a company or rather than a country. Khemlani claimed that he could get them in contact with a $4 billion loan. And this is the 70s. $4 billion is huge in the 70s, right?
Still pretty big now.
Yeah, so that's... Yeah. You can help us get there by giving us $1.50. So Khemlani, he doesn't actually have the money himself, but he's got a really strong LinkedIn game, for lack of a better word. He knows a lot of different people.
Can work a room.
He can work a room. His connection, Labor Party doesn't notice at the time, his connection is King Faisal of Saudi Arabia.
Wow.
Faisal.
Now, yeah, we do like Faisal.
Wow,
Who's
yeah.
a favourite Faisal that's featured in movies that you've seen?
Well, it's hard to look past the Dave Bautista blockbuster that is Final Score, a film we all hold dear to our hearts and would recommend. We're not sponsored by Final Score, but if you do want to
Bautista, if you want to get in touch, yeah, where our Patreon is.
I've been getting a lot of Bautista on my Facebook feed suggested for you.
Okay.
What does that
like-
say about you?
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. I like WWE back in the day. So
for that final score, it's a movie where Batista plays, I don't know what he actually plays, like an uncle or something, and he goes to
Godfather figure.
Yeah, like Upton Park, which was the former stadium of West Ham.
West Ham Soccer Stadium.
Yeah, that's it. And Piers Morgan, no, not Piers Morgan, Piers Brosnan.
If only Piers Morgan was there.
Plays a Russian terrorist, and Batista's plan is to take down Russian Piers Brosnan at the end of the soccer game. Fantastic movie. Best supporting act goes to Faisal. But anyway, King Faisal of Saudi Arabia, he gets killed. Completely unrelated to the Loans Affair. So King Faisal of Saudi Arabia...
Wow, is that as in like an assassination?
Yeah, assassinated by his, I think, either brother-in-law or brother? Or someone from his family assassinates him. My Saudi Arabian history isn't that great. But Faisal's gone, and they've lost the loan. So $4 billion loan is now off the table because Faisal's gone, and the money's gone. Now, basically, the issue here is there's no issue in getting a loan from an individual. It's unconventional, but it's not illegal. What has to happen when you get a loan, though, is you've got to go through the Loans Council. And in Parliament, lying to Parliament is usually considered a sackable offence. Unfortunately, Jim Cairns, who was the Treasurer and Deputy at the time, and Rex Connor, so it's kind of both of their portfolios overlapping here, both of them mislead the Parliament and don't go to the Loans Council. And so that's a bit of an issue. So firstly, Jim Cairns misleads Parliament, and Whitlam sacks. He's like, you're gone, you're fired. And Jim Cairns is gone as number 2. And so Whitlam goes to Rex Connor and he's like, stop this loan. Well, according to Whitlam, goes, stop this loan now. Loan's off. Like, it's done. It's a PR disaster. Just stop it. Rex Connor doesn't.
Rex.
And he says to Parliament that he does. But he doesn't actually stop trying to get the loan. The issue is Whitlam's gone to Parliament and he said the loan's off. So when news comes out that Rex Connor still tried to get the loan, Whitlam's stuck in a rock and a hard place. Either he has knowingly lied to Parliament or he doesn't know what his cabinet's up to. And he has no control of the cabinet.
So is Rex Connor, not to be confused with Rex Hunt, is he now second in charge?
No. So Rex Connor, he was retained as Minister for Resources and he gets the sack. So he's gone.
Because he lied.
Yeah, because he lied. Rex Connor, he says no. So Whitlam sent John Menadue, the guy that I mentioned before, his chief of staff, to go sack Rex Connor. According to Menadue, Rex Connor just said no. It's kind of like when a girl breaks up with you, and you're like...
I don't consent to being broken up with.
Eventually, he made his walk. PR disaster for Whitlam. We're going to come back to that. So, Whitlam's first term was in 1972. 1974... he actually triggers what's called a double dissolution. It's when both houses of Parliament are dissolved. That happens when a bill is denied twice by the Senate. And so Whitlam's hoping that he can get more Labor people in the Senate so that the upper house can pass what the lower house wants. Unfortunately for Whitlam, it's a bit of a disaster. The Senate is split even. So it's 2 independents and then 29 each for Labor and Liberal. So gridlock Parliament, and theoretically, Liberals might be able, if they can get the independents on side, might be able to stop Labor getting their laws passed. Gets worse though. So, when someone from the lower house, so let's just say, I don't know, take Scott Morrison for example. If Scott Morrison were to resign today, do you guys know what would happen?
I do not.
Someone would have to be appointed as our local member?
And how do they get appointed?
A vote.
Yes, so it's called a by-election.
Yeah.
So a by-election is when just the electorate votes for the person to take over. In the Senate, it's a bit more difficult because the Senate's not represented locally, it's represented by state. So each state gets a certain number of senators. That's why Pauline Hanson can actually get numbers to be in the Senate, because you don't need to win an electorate, you just need to be the 7th highest ranking Queenslander or whatever to get in the Senate. So, firstly, Lionel Murphy, who we mentioned before, good old Lionel, he resigns and he's a senator. And so we need to replace Lionel Murphy. Who gets to replace him? It's not the public, it's actually the Premier of the state. And the Premier of New South Wales, where Murphy was from, was the Liberal Premier called Bob Askin. Now, it was convention to replace the person leaving with someone from the same party. Bob Askin puts an independent in. Another, and I don't know the name of this second senator, another senator actually died in office. And he was a Queensland senator. And Queensland at the time is run by a guy called Joh Bjeke-Petersen. Might not have ever heard of him. Really important premier. We're going to do a future
Joh
episode.
Bjeke.
Yeah. It's Danish.
Oh, cool.
So Joh and Bjeke.
Interesting.
Yeah. So Joh Bjeke-Petersen, he's actually from the Country Party, what's now called the Nationals. So imagine John Barilaro being Premier of New South Wales. That was the situation in Queensland.
Yeah.
So Joh Bjeke-Petersen hates Gough Whitlam. And he's basically run on, we run Queensland and we do not follow what that socialist says.
Okay.
We have control of Queensland. If Gough Whitlam wants to control Queensland's Aboriginal policy, we're going to say no. We have the right to control our Aboriginal policy. And so what Bjeke-Petersen does is he appoints someone who was a Labor Party member, but not someone approved by the Labor Party, if that makes sense. So I can be a Labor Party member if I sign up at my Labor branch. That doesn't mean the Labor Party is going to want me running at a future election. So that's basically what it was. And so what happens is they appoint someone who is got Labor credentials, but actually hates Gough Whitlam. And so now we have a situation where 2 Labor senators are gone, and an independent and an anti-Whitlam Labor guy are in. So what does this mean? Well, it means Malcolm Fraser, who's the Liberal Party leader at the time, he has the numbers to block whatever bill Whitlam wants to pass, because he's got the numbers in the Senate. So it's a really terrible situation where Whitlam's got the lower house and Fraser's got the upper house. If you're Malcolm Fraser, what do you do in that situation? What do you reckon is the best PR move?
Well, you would kind of make it known that Whitlam's not really in control, even though he's meant to be the Prime Minister.
With theory? I like it. He doesn't do that, though.
Okay.
Or do you just...
That's what I would do.
You can help us out by voting Jake in our next by-elections. Or do you just block everything and then blame it on Whitlam for not getting things done?
You would think, but he doesn't do that either.
Wow.
Fraser goes, we're going to let everything go through. Because it looks really good for Fraser. Fraser looks like he actually has Australia's best interests. And he was like, the lower house has the right to govern. And so he lets everything through with one exception. He's like, when something reprehensible happens, we're going to stop it. And so every little thing that happens, so the Jim Cairns, Junie Morosi affair, they go to Fraser and like, is this the reprehensible circumstance you're looking for? And Fraser goes, no. And so they keep asking Fraser, is this the reprehensible thing? What ends up being the reprehensible thing is the Khemlani Loans Affair that I mentioned before. And so, interestingly, Khemlani comes out to Australia, Pakistani dude comes out to Australia claiming that Whitlam knew it was happening all along. And he's like, I can prove that Gough Whitlam knew that it was happening even after he said to Parliament that it wasn't. And so the Liberal Party, they are like, sweet, we want this guy to come out, we want this guy to talk, this is great PR for us. And they task one of the younger Liberal Party members with interrogating Khemlani. I have a guess who that Liberal Party member was.
Wow, is it someone we would know?
It is someone you would know.
John Howard.
John Howard is correct.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he's an emerging member in the Liberal Party in the 1970s, and Howard, he can't get Khemlani to prove it. He tries everything he could, and Khemlani, all he can go to is, no, Whitlam knew all along, but he can't prove it.
So just quickly, why does Khemlani not like Whitlam at this point? Why does he want to out Whitlam in this way?
So he's a bit of the impression that we're getting is that he's a bit of a troublemaker.
Okay.
So he probably could get access to the loans all along, but the Labor Party was really angry with him when the loan fell through. And he felt a little bit burnt by the Labor Party in that respect.
Yes,
and
of course.
He had a reputation for being pretty petulant. And so basically, they can't get the proof that they need, but Fraser says, that's enough, and we're going to stop supply. So supply is basically the Treasury bill, the budget, for lack of a better word, the kind of laws to legislate the amount of money that they're going to spend. And so Fraser, at the end of 1975, says, that's it, you are not getting supply. And so Australia's got a bit of a constitutional crisis. The lower house can't do what it wants to do. The upper house is blocking them. Gough Whitlam is effectively a powerless Prime Minister. And that's where we're going to pick it up next week as we see the constitutional crisis be resolved.
So did Whitlam know about the loan, that process continuing to happen, even though he said he didn't know? Because you led us to believe that he actually didn't know.
I believe he didn't,
Okay.
because Khemlani couldn't prove it.
Okay. So he
And
couldn't prove it.
If Khemlani had the proof, I think he would have been able to.
Yeah.
But there will be some who would take Khemlani's side of things.
But he came over
Yeah.
to give proof.
Yeah.
Even though he didn't have
It kind of like, and he liked the publicity as well. Like he got
Yeah.
it probably helped him with connections, considering he's like a connections-based financer. He seemed to really revel in the limelight.